Hello and welcome to the Isle of Man, where I'm delving a little deeper into the subject of vocal warm-ups, and I'll be speaking with Mezzo Soprano Mandy Griffin and her dog Fernando to first find out why we actually need to warm up the voice.
I think it's like any sort of physical activity, really. Before we sort of launch into doing anything big, any big notes, any big leaps, any extremes of range or anything like that, it's good just to gently get things working, just to check that the vocal cords are coming together and vibrating freely, just to check if there's any sort of phlegm or nastiness in the way. We're just getting rid of that and just easing us into things, I think, to start off with, and then also warming through the vowels, moving through the vowels, moving through the consonants. So we've kind of warmed up our articulators as well as our vocal cords coming together as well.
And are there different ways of warming up the voice if we're going to be singing different styles?
I think so. I think just a good general sort of a warm up for the vocal cords, probably whatever style you're doing. So maybe like a bit of humming, some scales, that sort of thing. But then I think if say you're doing some operatic music, there's obviously a different kind of technique coming into play there, different larynx position coming into play. Whereas if you were maybe doing some more belt musical theatre, there's a few different things you can try for that, just to get things open and working there. I think with the belting side of things, the main thing is that people get used to the fact that they don't have to take massive breaths and really force things out. So it's getting people used to the fact that less is more when it comes to that sort of thing. I always love a lip trill. A lip trill or a tongue trill, and I think if it's been a bit of a time since the company warm-up has happened, then people sort of can get on with that themselves. A bit of sirening is also good. Just to make sure things are still working, I think, before people go on.
So, Mandy, when you say lip trills or sirens, what does that mean?
So a lip trill, some people find it quite tricky, but it's just an ordinary breath, and then and just really sustaining that flow of air. And if that is happening at the front of the lips, means the breath pressure is nicely balanced. Also means there's not sort of tension in the tongue, tension in the jaw, tension in the lips, and the breath is just able to come through the vocal cords.
Like blowing bubbles.
Like blowing bubbles, And if some people
but keeping the airflow constant.
Yes, that's the main thing with it, and making sure again that we're using this core sort of underneath that sound. Some people find it trickier, and they find if they just put their fingers here, that can make it a little bit easier.
Is that Fernando trying it as well?
Yeah. If people really struggle with that, there's kind of an equivalent which I quite like to do, because I find some people get so frustrated that they can't do the lip trill that it sort of defeats the object and all sorts of tensions creep in. So I think if you really fill your cheeks with air, and then almost like there used to be that TV character called Pob that used to be on S4C in the early 90s when I was a student.
There's a new one on me.
So if you fill your cheeks with air and kind of do a that can also have that sort of balancing of the breath flow.
Is that similar to a siren?
The kind of pitch I was in there is similar to a siren. I quite like, I mean, you can do a siren on a lip trill, a sort of but I quite like doing a siren on an NG, so as if people have just said sing, because it brings the tongue sort of nice and high into the high tongue at the back of the mouth, which means that we're sort of freeing up the resonance space at the back. So if we're sirening on an so as if we said sing, and just a sing.
So do you feel by doing exercises like that and other exercises, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment, are they just for warming up, or are they part of strengthening the voice?
Yeah, I think very much. It's interesting. Quite often, when I'm doing exercises with my students, they talk about warm-ups, and I kind of say to them, well, it is, but they're also technical exercises. They're also exercises whereby the voice, we can kind of strengthen throughout the range of the voice.
Yeah.
We can make sure that there are no issues or problems going on with the voice. So I think warm-ups, but also exercises to build the voice, to strengthen.
I know when
the
I'm
voice.
doing warm-ups, I start very gently with humming and things like that, and as we progress through the warm-up, I try and introduce more technical things. So those are the exercises. What sort of exercises might you suggest for the technical side of things?
I think it depends what you're wanting to work on. I think I work one-to-one with people most of the time.
Yeah.
So a big thing I find to work on with lots of people are jaw tension issues and tongue tension issues. There's quite often a tendency for people to kind of grip the voice here, and you can hear when that tongue tension's coming in, or when the jaw, sometimes when people open their mouths, you can kind of see a jaw flapping around, and it's almost like the jaw and the tongue are supporting the pitch, and the body isn't doing the work, and then I think that sort of the voice isn't as free as it might be. So I think some nice exercises for the jaw is often just for people to give a little massage round. Because I think people often carry tension in their jaw, but perhaps aren't aware that they've got that tension there. So a nice massage for the jaw is good. And then also just making sure that when we're is a good valve for the jaw to kind of drop nicely on. So again, a nice siren on
Making sure.
Just making sure, that there's a nice open mouth there. And then tongue tension, which sometimes goes hand in hand, but sometimes it's a bit of a thing in itself. I think getting people to sing with their tongues out of their mouths, which no one wants to do, but it can really help, and it can really open up a sound, and people are often really surprised that if they just go when they're singing, sometimes these top notes can happen really easily, and suddenly there's a load of resonance because the tongue kind of isn't wedged down, on top of the larynx, on top of the vocal cords, really. So freeing up that tongue root is a good thing. And one thing I really like doing for that, as well as sticking the tongue out of the mouth, but people hate doing, is just singing a scale down, going.
So really using the tongue.
So really,
flapping it around.
Flapping it around, and it really sort of shows if often it's towards the end of that people's tongues start to seize up, which kind of lets me see that towards the ends of phrases they're not quite using the sort of support from down here that they might do.
So when people obviously bring you songs to learn, do you use exercises to help them through parts of the song if there's an awkward jump or something, or do you work on little sections like that?
If there's a problem in a section, definitely. I sometimes think my students probably think I'm a bit too picky and finicky about things. I've got a real issue with people not pronouncing their end consonants. So beginnings of words are often fine, but people sometimes forget about the ends of words. D's are often tricky for people to do a d at the end of words. So we might spend time if we're missing consonants to just look at the consonants and look at which consonants are voiced, which are unvoiced consonants, just what the vowel sound is in the word, and maybe what mouth position is kind of optimal on that vowel sound. Sometimes with big intervals, big jumps, you'll see people get tensing up and everything lifts up, which is kind of the opposite direction, especially if we're supporting an upward interval, things want to go. So again, going back to the sort of good old lip trill, I find that's a really good way to get people to do a jump. And also sometimes I think getting people to put a physical movement in. So if they're, say, jumping up an octave, getting them to kind of do a squat down, so that bottom of the body really comes into play.
Well, it's a big thank you to Mandy for some great ideas there. I hope you found them interesting. If you did, please hit the like button. And don't forget you can check the description below to find out how you can access my 6-day vocal warm-up plan. Well, that's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.